Cal Davis here at Metalcraft Tools Skills Center. I've been asked a whole lot about doing some projects for beginning metal shapers. You know, you don't want to go out there your first job out, chop the top off a 50 Mercury coupe. This is not a good idea. What we need to do is to build our skills. But you don't want to start with too complicated project to start with and something that's really hard to do. I've designed a little pedal car that will be easy to build. Let's take a look at our drawing. I started out with a paper drawing like this. I went to the office supply, got me some graph paper, and sketched out what I wanted to do. And I sketched it to scale. And what you have to do is literally set the perimeters of what you want to do. You've got to have boundaries to work to. Now, what I decided to do is to make the floorboard of it my chassis line. And that is this line right here on the chassis line. But I wanted the tail of it to be symmetrical so that it would be really neat looking to me. Now listen, you can do this any way you want to do it. What I want to do is just give you some guidelines to work by. You have got to have center lines to work off of. And if you can sit down and just make a little sketch as to what you want to do, but remember your boundaries that you got to work to and your perimeters. I got a little granddaughter that's 5 years old, and she's going to be the one that ends up with this car. And I set her down, and I went from her shoulders to her seat, and from her back to her knees, and then from her knees down to her feet. And I found out that it was 15 inches, 15 inches, and 15 inches. This is what set the perimeters for the size of the body here. Now, what I wanted to do is to have this portion of the body to where her shoulders came just a little bit above it, and she would be able to put her arms through this area right in here on the sides. This would give her a chance to where she could see over the hood and be a nice little piece. Also, then I'd have the leg length to locate the pedals. Now, we're not going to do the chassis and all. This is something that you can work out yourself. But what we want to do is to design the body. Now, if you make a 2D sketch, and now listen, the thing that set this project off was a friend of mine who's got a hot rod Model A engine. He's got a Model A chassis, and he wanted to build a Model A Speedster. So I says, what we'll do is we'll build a model of it to start with. We'll take a look at it, see what our problems are, what our boundaries are, and what we need to do. Well, I found these little spoke wheels at one of the hardware supplies, and the thing is 12 inches in diameter. So I took the diameter of the Model A wheel, scaled it down, and it came out to 42%. I took a 103-inch wheelbase and scaled that out, and it came to about 45 inches. So now, what we need to do is to set our boundaries on our little scale. If you take a 2D drawing like this, this gives you your widest point here, this gives you your tallest point here, which is the center line of your vehicle. Now, if we have this line and we have this line, then what we can do is to generate our curves. Now, if we measure from this center line up to here and draw a line, and we measure from here down and we draw a line, then we end up with this dimension, and we end up with this dimension. Now that we've got those two, let's generate just a square. Okay? Now what happens is we've got this highlight here, we've got this highlight here, here, we know where this is at. That's here. Now, what I done was I decided that I wanted the sides of it to have about a 1-inch bow so that it wouldn't be flat. So I sit down and figured out what the radius was going to be, and I made me a template. And I laid this template out, which I got a center line on it now, this square to the back of it here and square to the radius, okay? Now, if I take this square that I have generated here, and I take this right here, and I draw this in here, that gives me my outside curve. And I just decided that I was going to use this one curve the whole way through, so it'd just be easy for me to work with. All right, now then what we've done here is we've got this on there. Now, if you look, we've got a sharp corner. What I want to do is I want to go back in here, and I don't care what radius you use, just make yourself up something that's neat. What I done was I took this little template. You can take a roll of tape and use that. Just use the same thing all the time. And then what happens is we generate this little tie-in curve here. Okay? Now, let's erase all we got out here. And what we've done is we have generated the curve for that side. Now all you have to do is draw half of it. You don't have to draw the whole thing. All you got to do is just draw half of it. Once you generate half of it, we can take this piece and flip it around over here, and we've got the other side. You got to have these center lines to work off of, here and here. Now, once we get those done, we can go and let's try to generate this curve right in here. Now that's a little different approach for that one. But what I done was I found out how high I wanted this center section in here. So we've got a dot here. Here's our line. This is at 90 degrees here. We've got this line here. It's at 90. And I got my height. And then what happens is I got my point back here in the back where I want. Now, what we got to do is to tie these three together. Let me get a little more board area right here to work with. And we've got a height here, and a height here, and a height here. Well, now, how do I find out what the different distance is from here to here in that station? Because I'm going to need that station. If you take a steel rule and you tie those three dots together, you have generated a progressive curve. And if you'll just hold that in place, get somebody to trace right along there, you've got it. Now, that's an easy way to do that. Now, I designed my little car so that it goes straight from right here to right here, just like it does on the hood on the Model A's. The sides are straight up and down, so from right here is where my curve, this is straight, and my curve starts to generate back to here in the sides. So the